every spoken word, what your soul has longed for, what your heart can feel is already here, is already real.
There is no one out there, there is no one else. You hold all the answers deep inside of yourself. There's a voice that whispers, there's no you, no me. There's just one, there's just unity.
One power, one presence, one life to lead the way. All loving, all knowing, that answers when you pray.
When the world looks darkest and your eyes can see, gather all your troubles, give them all to me. I am always with you, I will always be. I am one, I am unity. We are one, we are unity.
Good morning. Welcome to Unity of Ventura's online Sunday service. My name is Sherry Lieberg. I'll be your hostess this morning. Thank you for honoring the call of your heart to join us today. It would not be the same without you. And a special welcome to those of our audience who are fathers. Happy Father's Day. It doesn't matter if you were a birth father, an adopted father, a stepfather, or a father figure. You touch someone's life, so happy Father's Day. Did you know that Father's Day was first celebrated on June 19th, 1910? And it wasn't until 1974, 58 years after President Woodrow Wilson made Mother's Day a national holiday, that we adopted Father's Day as a holiday in our country as well. Better late than never. We remember that we come together in one mind, one heart, one consciousness, for the purpose of being spiritual family to one another, to know the truth for one another, and to support each other and lift each other up. Let's take a moment now to remember what we offer at this church and who we are. Unity of Ventura is a radiating center of spiritual well-being. We are famous for our inspiring lessons, for our wonderful music, and for our loving and welcoming fellowship. We invite you to linger for a while at the conclusion of our Zoom online service, where you can partake in our virtual hospitality and get to know your spiritual family a little deeper. And now, let's take this feeling of connection and oneness a little deeper as well. Oh, dear God, we give thanks for this time of coming together, for resting in your presence and knowing that you are the source of guidance and wisdom and inspiration for all of us. We now send a blessing of love and light to one another, extending that blessing out into our community and now into the entire world. We see each person being filled with a sense of purpose to do your work, dear God, to live their lives in a balanced way, and to express the perfection in which you made them. For this and for all of our blessings, we say thank you, sweet Spirit. And so it is. Amen. We continue now with the reading of the daily word, remembering that we're one with millions of readers of the daily word all over the world. Today's word comes to us from August 4th, 1974. The word for today is balance. The affirmation for today is, I let the idea of balance be the keynote in my life. Think for a moment about a tightrope walker, a ballerina, a bank teller. When we think about those people, the word balance comes to mind. And we, whatever our place in life, recognize the need for balance in our lives as well. To live a balanced life, we need to give time and thought to the whole human being, mind, body, and spirit. We can't neglect any of those phases of being. Through prayer, through allowing God's power to flow through us, we lay the foundation for perfect balance. Our thoughts must be well monitored so that we choose the thoughts that we would like to see take shape and form in the world. Through the mind that God has given us, we're able to exercise good judgment and take positive control over circumstances and conditions. Balance includes wise care of the body, consideration of its needs, respect for its wonderful powers, and appreciation of its beauty and holiness as God's temple. As the word balance becomes our keynote, we can bless those that we love with the same idea. We see them whole in body, mind, and spirit. Today's daily word comes to us and was inspired by Isaiah chapter 30, verse 21, which says, "This is the way, walk in it." The word for today is balance. The affirmation for today is, I let the idea of balance be the keynote in my life. So it is, and so we let it be. Amen.
Yeah!
All right,
Everybody,
I'm ready.
tell me, Smitty, what do you think about this?
I think we're in the right place.
Uh-huh. Woo. Where are we? I'm in the right place at the right time. I'm just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I'm just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I'm just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I'm just where I'm supposed to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul
We now continue with our statement of truth. There is only one presence and one power active in my life and in the universe, God the Good. There is only one presence and one power active in my life and in the universe, God the Good. Now, I invite you to find a comfortable position. Take a few gentle, centering breaths, and let's enter a time of quiet contemplation and meditation. I keep my attention on God. God's wisdom helps me to use my energy in balanced and constructive ways. God is universally good, and God's law of good is at work in all aspects of my life, mind, spirit, and body. I align myself with God's direction, and all my desires are brought into perfect balance. I let love and wisdom balance each other as I make decisions, and I am assured that my judgment is sound. I rejoice in living a balanced life. Take a few moments now to rest in the silence, allowing the love and the peace and the wisdom of God to flow through you, helping you to achieve balance in all aspects of your being. Oh, sweet Spirit, thank you for this time of rest, this time of communion with our spiritual family and with you. It's time now to bring your awareness back to this time and place as we say, so it is, and so we let it be. Amen. And now, I'd like to introduce our guest speaker this week. Christine Pena has been with us a number of times, and each time she inspires us. For those of you who may not have heard her before, Christine has been a spiritual counselor for over 20 years, licensed through the Agape International Spiritual Center. She has over a decade of experience in pastoral care. She's worked on staff at the Agape Center in the One from the Heart Pastoral Care Ministry, where she has tended to the spiritual needs not only of the congregation, but she served as a mentor for interns on the practitioner's path. It's with great delight that I bring to you Christine Pena.
Good morning, Unity of Ventura. My name is Christine Pena, and it is my pleasure to be the speaker for today, and also to welcome you to this wonderful spiritual community. every time I come here, I'm always blown away by how welcoming and how open-hearted this community is. And that is true regardless of who it is that contacts me from this community. Every time I've come to the community, they've always welcomed me with an open heart. And everyone who works there, from the Board of Trustees on up, has been really wonderful and really welcoming. So I hope that that is your experience of being in the spiritual community, because I know it's mine. So I just welcome you here today. I welcome everyone who has joined us today. And today is June 21st, 2020, and it is Father's Day. So how great is that to be able to welcome in Father's Day 2020 in the midst of everything that's going on in the world. And there is a lot going on in the world today, is there not? The very first time I came to speak was May of 2019. What am I saying? It was May of 2019, and it was Mother's Day. So my very first talk was on the divine feminine and Mother's Day and the divine creative principle. Excuse me. And so today I'm going to talk about the divine masculine and how those two work together and how it is present in every area of our lives, and as we can see it out picturing in the world today. So let's just sort of review what divine masculine and divine feminine is. So my topic today is honor thy father, balancing the divine masculine. So when we talk about the divine feminine and the divine masculine, I'm sort of surprised, not really, but I'm sort of surprised that this has become generalized into not just spiritual divine masculine and feminine, but it's become a relationship thing where everybody is talking about how to balance your relationships so that there is a balance between the divine masculine and the divine feminine. But it's all of that and so much more. It is about the balance within ourselves, and it's about how that outpictures into the world and what we bring to it. So just to review a little bit, I have qualities of the divine masculine and feminine, and they are on either side of each other and they balance each other out. So these are our divine energies. So this, like I say, this goes beyond relationship. This goes beyond us as people. It just is the spiritual principle that is intrinsic behind everything. All of creation is a balance between the masculine and feminine energies. So when we speak of masculine energies, what we're talking about is left brain. So that's the logical side of our brain. And the feminine is creative and right-brained, while the masculine is logical and left-brained. They associate masculine with being strong, whereas feminine is soft and creative. Masculine tends to be more aggressive and forceful and a warrior nature and assertive, while the feminine side is more receptive, nurturing, loving, peaceful, passive, heart-centered, intuitive, emotional, free-flowing, and inner. So the male energy is an external, outwardly focused energy, and the female energy is more receptive and yielding. So as you can see, that works out when it comes to actual creation, when it comes to insemination and creation from the womb. The man is the one who plants the seed, and the woman is the one who nurtures it and gives birth to it. So each one is equally important in terms of creation. So when we speak about the divine masculine, and I look about what's going on today, what I see happening is that there is it's almost as if masculinity has its time is up. It's time of ruling and dominating and yielding and ruling with an iron fist is kind of what I see as the masculine energy gone wrong. And aggression and force. And of course, we're right in the middle of that with the Black Lives Matter movement, and really valuing everyone's life, but particularly because Black people are on the line right now. It's about just defending their right to live, simply live. So, not that you need me to demystify what the Black Lives Matter movement is all about, but that's part of what's going on right now, is that there is a requalifying and a reclaiming of that energy, which has gone horribly wrong in a lot of ways in terms of waging war, aggression, violence, the sort of hyper masculinity movement, as far as, all the aggression that's going on in the world right now. That's sort of the divine masculine energy gone horribly wrong. And so today, sort of the work that I want us to embrace is to requalify and rechannel that emotion and requalify that energy, the energy of the divine masculine, knowing absolutely it is vital. So we talk about, one of my favorite phrases is, the future is female. And I love that phrase because I think it's time. It's time for the feminine energy to balance out the masculine energy. So how does that look? I mean, how does that outpicture into our world? And what I see happening right now is this process that we call chemicalization. And I'm just going to review, this is a metaphysical process. It's a metaphysical, where's my quote? It's a not talked about often enough, as far as I'm concerned, condition that happens. And when we speak about chemicalization, and the reason I'm bringing it up is because what I see happening is, as our world is changing and as masculine and feminine energy are sort of being requalified and rebalanced right now, everything is up. Everything is up for healing. And so this damaged, wounded masculine pride and ego is coming up to be requalified as power's actual absolute power for good. And let me just explain a little bit about what chemicalization is. So this is from Charles Fillmore, head of Unity. And he says, he describes it as a condition of the mind that is brought about by the conflict that takes place when a high spiritual condition contacts an old error state of consciousness. So let me just read that again. A condition of the mind that is brought about by the conflict that takes place when a high spiritual condition contacts an old error state of consciousness. So what Fillmore is talking about here, especially when he says error state of consciousness, that's not something that we usually talk about in terms of an error state of consciousness. But what is meant by an error state of consciousness is consciousness rises. So as consciousness rises, and when we speak of consciousness, let me just demystify the term consciousness here for a minute. Your consciousness, when they say somebody is of a high consciousness, what it entails is just clarifying our awareness, and clarifying our awareness to a point where it becomes that which we're operating from. So in other words, when we meditate and when we pray, what we're doing is refining our consciousness. We're directing and focusing our awareness. And so when Fillmore talks about an error state, he's talking about a belief and a series of beliefs that have hardened, and they have sort of hardened into a belief that is preventing what is true from bursting forth. So when we speak of an error state of consciousness, what we're talking about is an old held belief that is no longer relevant and indeed is no longer true. So chemicalization occurs when we are doing our spiritual work and we are releasing all old ideas that no longer serve us, and we're open to being taught. And an old error state of consciousness hits up against that belief. In other words, let's just make this a real cut and dried example here, and that is if somebody has a belief that men or women are inferior to men, for example, or that I don't know, there's a million of them out there. I don't want I don't want to bring them all up, but you know what I'm talking about. When there is a belief about somebody or something and it bumps up against the truth, like for example with prosperity consciousness. I've been doing an independent study this past year in ministerial school on prosperity. And so my consciousness for the past year has been focused, my awareness has been focused on prosperity and not focused on lack and limitation. But if I continue to affirm prosperity, but in my private work hours with myself, I still believe in scarcity, that's an error state of consciousness. So new prosperity, new harmony, new life cannot come in when there is a blocking error state of consciousness. So I hope that's clear. That makes sense, huh? So when we're talking about chemicalization in the world, what I'm seeing is I feel like we're finally uncovering all the stuff that's been swept under the rug for such a long time. I mean, we've talked about equality, we've talked about racism, we've talked about bigotry, we've talked about homophobia, and all these things are up now. I mean, it is up. It's not just, oh, you know, what a terrible world this is, and how did this happen, and how did we get here? It's been here all along. These error thoughts have been operating within us, and now collectively what I'm seeing is that there is an eruption taking place. We can no longer hang on to our old error thoughts. So what this really means is that we have to be in acceptance of the process of chemicalization, and it is a process, and it's uncomfortable, it's messy, it doesn't look good, it doesn't feel good, and it's sometimes going to seem like a dark night of the soul, but truly this is not a dark night of the soul time in our country. This is a time of reckoning. This is a time of extreme chemicalization, and this is a time of extreme exposure to that which no longer works. It no longer works. So when I hear people talk about, you know, let's get back to normal. Let's go back to how it was. How sad are we that we can't go out and hug people or shake hands or connect in the ways that are familiar and comfortable for us? Well, it's obvious now that what we have to do is to move forward no matter how uncomfortable it is. And change is uncomfortable. It just is. It's just uncomfortable. And I always talk about when you sign up for the spiritual brochure, like let's say somebody hands you a brochure and says, here's spiritual life. You can experience all this joy and all this love and all this peace and all this happiness and all this harmony and this wholeness. And it's all here for you. And you say, great, sign me up. Where's the paper? Sign me up. I'm gonna sign up for this spiritual life. And when you're signing up for it, sometimes you forget to read the fine print. So chemicalization is like the fine print on the spiritual life for us. And so as spiritual warriors, focusing our divine and masculine to be that place of effectiveness in the world, we have to realize that we have to embrace all this uncomfortability. What's the word? Uncomfortable, the uncomfortable nature of change. And so it's important that we carry around, and the last time I spoke, I talked about being a portal of peace. So it's really important, especially now, because the world needs us now. And when I speak about balancing the divine masculine, one of the things that the divine masculine provides for us is a sense of stability, a sense of protection, a place of safety. That is another aspect of the divine masculine that we really need to lean into at this point in time. We need a strong, powerful sense of leadership. And we need this strong presence to guide us and direct us. So more so than ever, we need to be focused on really embracing all the conflicting sides of ourselves. So let's just take a minute right now and just really embrace all the aspects of ourselves in terms of our divine masculine. So let's just turn within now in this moment. And how good it is to just turn within and become still. Become still to the powerful presence, the love, the peace, the harmony, the wholeness, the joy that is our life. That is our life in the presence of God. That is our life right here and right now. So in this moment, I just speak a special word for all those who are wearing the title of father, or who are fathers in their lives, who provide that place of stability, of protection, of safety, of love. Those that are willing to fight for us. And we activate within ourselves right here and right now that powerful place, that place of power, that place where we simply are moving and yielding receptively in the divine feminine and powerfully in the divine masculine. So I just bless this place of power within each one of us individually and as this community collectively. I speak this word of infinite grace. I speak this word of infinite potential. And indeed, I honor the father, the masculine principle, that place of excellence, that place of outward focus, that place of action that is within each one of us. I activate it and I call it forth right here and right now as our life. I am so grateful for this and so much more. I give thanks to the powerful presence of God, knowing itself as each one of us. And I rest in it right here and right now, saying, and so it is. Amen. Thank you so much for spending this time with me and being here in my living room, in Christine's living room. And I just know and accept and I honor every father here today. I honor each and every person who has said yes to standing in the power of God as the divine masculine principle to bring about this uncomfortable change that we are welcoming. Because what I'm knowing and accepting is that it's releasing all of those old error thoughts and replacing them with a world that works for all. For this and so much more, I am thankful. I'm grateful. I look forward to seeing you all soon. And I know we can't go back to our old normal, but I welcome the new normal in. I know it is powerful, fruitful, wonderful. For this and so much more, I give thanks. Thanks for being with me. Bye.
in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And leave us not in temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the
Oh, didn't you just love Christine's message? And didn't it just fill your heart to hear the Lord's Prayer again? Thank you, Smitty and Julia and the Unity Band, for bringing that music to us. It's been a long time. Now is the time in our service where we practice the spiritual law of giving and receiving. Giving to the place where we're spiritually fed, Unity of Ventura. You can donate to us in any number of ways. You can go to our website, www.unityofventura.org, and click on that orange donate button. Or you could write a check or money order and send it in the mail to our mailing address, which is on our website. Or you could use your bank's bill pay. However you donate, it works for us. We are just so very grateful for every donation that we receive. I'd like for you to now hold your donation, your tithe, your gift in mind, in heart, perhaps in hand, as we bless it with our offering blessing. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Again, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And now, together, let us bless the givers. Dear God, we give great thanks for the gifts that we are receiving today and every day, knowing that they are used in the will and work of your ministry through this church. We bless each giver, knowing that they have given to us from a place of love, of gratitude, of generosity. We see each giver being richly blessed in return in wondrous, magical, unexpected ways. And now, as we begin to close our time together today, we extend great thanks once again to Christine Pena for her lesson, to Scott, Smitty, Julia, and the band for the music. And we also extend a very special thanks to each of you for joining us today. It would not be the same without you.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as our creator, family all are we. Let
us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.